feature Rachel Harrison.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. And then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I'm here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and long to be under the same song, singing songs of freedom. One day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play. One day, one day. Oh, one day, one
Thank you so much. Welcome to Columbine Spiritual Center. We're centered in God. We celebrate a world of harmony, peace, and abundance for all. We welcome our viewers at home, and we welcome all of our guests in the sanctuary. And we'd love you to stand up and sing with us today. Yeah.
We've got to give a little love, have a little hope, make this world a little better. Oh, 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 oh. What do? We got to give a little hope, have a little hope, make this world a little better. Try a little more, harder than before. Let's do what we can do together. Oh, we can really make it better, yeah. Oh, la la la, only if we try. Let's do it again. Give a little love, have a little hope, make this world a little better. Try a little more, harder than before. Let's do what we can do together. Oh, we can really make it better, yeah. Oh, la la la, only if we try. Let's break it down. Oh, we can really make it better, yeah. Oh, la la la, only if we try. Oh, you can really make it better, yeah. Oh, la la la, only if we try.
And you can be seated, and let's say our mission statement together. It is, we inspire personal transformation so we can all see ourselves as God in us. God is life and I am life.
God is life and I am life.
God is light and I am light.
God is light and I am light.
God is joy and I am joy.
God is joy and I am joy.
God is love and I am love.
God is love and I am love.
God is peace and I am peace.
God is peace and I am peace.
God is beauty and I am beauty.
God is beauty and I am beauty.
God is power and I am power.
God is power and I am power.
God is good, yes, God is good.
God is good, yes, God. All these things God is. All these things I am. All these things God is. All these things I am. All these things God is. All these things I am. All these things God is. All these things I am. God is good.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. I guess I'm on that camera. Good for me to pay some attention to. I'm lighting our candle here in the sanctuary, but we also invite you, if you're watching at home, to light a candle. Candle is such a wonderful representation of the light that is our nature, the light that we are. So as this candle springs to life, I invite you to take a nice deep breath. Just allow yourself to really settle into this moment now. This is the moment. And whatever it is that you're carrying on your consciousness right now, whether it's great joy or some heaviness of some kind, something that's got you afraid or something that has you feeling sad or heavy, it's all welcome here. It's the nature of prayer. We're bringing it to God. We're bringing it to this presence that expresses as us, but is the very nature of the universe we live in. And no matter what is going on in our life, we're here today with the confidence that it's working out. It's working out through the guidance, the inspiration, through the activity of God, not only as us, but in the world around us. It's unfolding. There's great joy often in this, what would we call it, opening up of the country, opening up of Columbine. But that doesn't mean that everyone is feeling joyous. Allow yourself to bring it. Allow yourself to now surrender it. For you see, you are the very expression of Spirit itself. You are the love. You are the strength. You are the very receptivity that allows you to know what your next step is when it's time for that step to be revealed. And so we allow ourselves now to relax. It can feel so much like it's all in our hands, but let's put it in God's hands this morning, in your very nature's loving arms. And I invite you to bring everyone on your personal prayer list into those same loving arms. Everyone on Unity's prayer box or on our prayer list. We don't even need to know what's going on for them. We just bring them into this loving light that is healing, that is guiding. And we allow ourselves to close simply by saying thank you. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
We are thrilled to welcome Stacy Roginski back to Columbine. She's been traveling, wandering this country, and we're glad that she still calls Boulder and Columbine home. Yeah.
This song is about stepping out and into who you're meant to be. Come on out in the sunshine, baby. Come on out and trust yourself. Come on out in the sunshine, baby. Put your blues up on that shelf. And I just want to wrap my arms around you. I would never hold you down. Been waiting on the day to see you put some dust up off the ground. When you step out of the shadows, when you step out of the shadows, when you step out of the shadows, you're gonna walk in glory. Come on out of the darkness, baby. Show the beauty in your soul. Feel your heart pounding, yeah. Let the rhythm and the breath of life unfold. And I just want to wrap my arms around you. I would
Stacy Rogitsky.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Beautiful. And what a great message, right? Step out of the shadows and walk in glory. I think that's really what we talk about a lot, but today is no exception. We are going to be revisiting Broken Open. We used it for our winter program this year, but we didn't make it all the way through. This is a wonderful book in that last week Sue talked about the power of living from love and truth, how it's a combination that is going to really take you places in life, not only in your expression, but in your experience then of life. And wouldn't it be wonderful if you could just declare I'm just going to live from love and truth now. And that was it. But Elizabeth Lesser beautifully points out that while we have good intentions, we have layers of defense, we have layers of hurt, we have layers of different patterning that get in the way. And so she says we need to be broken open. And it's not something that you need to go out and do. It's something that's happening to you all the time, right? I mean, it's pretty interesting how life shows up. And it's not just showing up randomly. Life is showing up attuned to you. At least that's what we teach in Unity. If you don't respond to it, then you're probably healed in that area. Or I should say, if you don't react to it. If you react, then there's something to be looked at. There's your opportunity. So this week we're picking it up with a section that Elizabeth wrote on children. And immediately you may be going, well, I've raised my children, right? That's old hat for me. Or if you're like me, I don't have any children. But as I read this section, I was totally impressed with how it becomes a perfect model, an analogy, if you will, for what it means to live in the world and what it means to dance with our ego. She starts out this section with this quote. If you'd like to be broken open, if you want to pursue a phoenix process of the highest order, I'd recommend raising children. Can any of you relate to that? Parenthood is a clumsy yet majestic dance in the flames. When you parent, you fall in love with a person who is always changing into something or someone else, and who you know will leave you. I loved this idea, and I could recognize the truth of this even without having children, because I'm one of 5 kids, and just recognizing how we were changing and what a challenge that was for our parents, and often how our parents tried to control that, right? Which, good luck with that. Doesn't work very well. But what really struck me in this phrase was the fact that life is also always changing. And just when we think we've got it down, something happens in our lives. And it can feel like a total bummer. It can feel like we're being punished. It can feel like we're alone. But if you reframe it, the invitation is to learn something about ourselves, to develop in areas that we haven't developed in before, to discover aspects and qualities of ourselves that we haven't, to break open, if you will, to those through whatever needs to be broken open. I think COVID is probably the one that most of us have on our minds. How did COVID invite you to break through something? How did it invite you into discovering something new about yourself, to taking a new path? In the midst of COVID, the county I live in virtually burned up. And they prepared us for it. They said it's coming. Isn't it interesting? Have you ever thought, oh yeah, I'll be fine. And then it happens. And for me, the phone goes off, and then about 4 minutes later, the police are pounding on the door, get out, get out. It brings up emotion for me right now. I was surprised that I broke down crying, but it was such a helpless feeling. And important for me to really go back and explore what makes helplessness so big for me. And, I found it in my childhood and got to explore the trauma around it even more clearly. Saw one aspect of it I hadn't really looked at. Broke me open, right? And there's always more to be broken open. If you think you're totally broken open, you're not, because you wouldn't be here. We'd be worshiping you somewhere. So we all have more that can break open in us. Stuart, my partner, yesterday met a couple whose house burned down. We lost 400 houses just around Grand Lake. Not right around Grand Lake, but I mean in the vicinity of Grand Lake. And this is a couple in their late 60s. You can imagine, they thought they were set. Their house was paid for, but they lost everything. And they're now living in a van behind a store in Grand Lake. Thankful that the store owner has allowed them to use their restroom. And there's choices in that, right? I mean, I'm sure they got insurance money. They could be spending their insurance money on VRBO or something, because a house doesn't get built quickly in Grand Lake when there's 400 houses to build and the price of everything is going through the roof. So maybe they've decided we're going to save every cent we can to get back into our house. And so we're going to live in this van. But I'll bet you something's getting broken open. It's just the nature of life. And of course, I would have asked them if I was there, hey, I'm doing this talk tomorrow. What's gotten under your skin about this whole thing? So another direction that Elizabeth takes, that's like looking at how the world is like raising a child. If you think the world is stagnant, you're going to suffer. Better to say, how am I being asked to break open today? And how are you being asked? So Elizabeth then takes us in a slightly different direction when she switches to analogies that I felt were like perfect for our ego. Two stories. One, when one of her sons was 3 years old, he wouldn't allow any other music to be played in the house except his current favorite album. And he would throw a major fit if you tried to change. Now, I'm not saying that your ego throws a major fit on you, but have you tried to change things in your life? Really? I mean, you have to really focus, and you have to put up with often a screaming child within. And I know it's true. I mean, how many of you heard a talk that Sue gave or I gave, and you really loved it, and you said, I'm going to really apply that, and by the time you got home, you couldn't remember what the talk was about. That's the significance of how powerful the ego, which lives in our minds, can be. And then she tells another story of slam ball, which is a game that her two sons, the two sons that she had at that time, and their friends developed. She called it a combination of handball and professional wrestling. And it only happened in her living room. Right? So all the furniture got pushed away, lots of things got piled on each other. It became it became a hassle to put it all back, so her living room just stayed this way. And she went so far as to allow them to put duct tape down on her hardwood floors. I don't know if you guys know about duct tape, but that's a major no-no. But she just went along with it. Years later, they had taken a video, a video demonstrating how you play this game, the kids had, and she played it to a family event, or it got played to a family event years ago, and her sisters were aghast. How could you let that happen? Who would do that? And I think this is the key point about that part. How many people who you know closely, who you really care about, you're watching them in a behavior that is destructive to them, a patterned behavior, or a behavior that doesn't allow them to step out of the shadows? But no matter how much you talk to them, nothing seems to get through to them. When I was training to be a spiritual counselor, we went through what would you call that? A case study, I guess you would call it. And we got to see a video of a woman. She had agreed to be videoed during a session, and she was feeling extreme guilt that when she was between the ages of 4 and 6, that she had witnessed her father physically abusing her older brother, and she hadn't stopped it. Now, if she was 15 to 18 or something, okay. But 4 to 6? How many of us would have expected her to stop a fight between her brother and her dad? And yet, no matter what was said to her during the session, no matter what technique was used, she wouldn't let it go. How many of you defend the life that your ego has created for you? Defend the things that you do that are not light-bringing to your life or light-bringing to others. Defend staying in situations. When I was in my 20s, I was on a fast track through a corporation, and they always send you to management development. And I went to a development course where they had asked my supervisors, the people I reported to, and my direct reports to answer several questions, and that information went directly to them. And in this retreat, they were helping each of us identify our giftedness. And I came from a family, every ego has deficiency, but mine has lots of deficiency, because the main message I got as a kid was, there's something wrong with me. And for a normal family, there is something wrong with me, right? I mean, today in our culture, no, there's nothing wrong with me. But back in the late 50s and 60s, yeah, there was something wrong with me from my parents' perspective. So as they started laying out my giftedness, I defended that, no, I'm not any more gifted than anyone else. I have the same gifts. All my employees have the same gifts as me. I could not see it. And what does that do? It just leaves us in the shadows. It keeps us from really being able to embrace who and what we are. And it's safe. It's safe there for some reason. If you're told there's something wrong with you, you don't really want to come out of the shadows. And so Elizabeth really gives us a clue into what holds this whole gambit we call the ego together. And this is not the only thing, but this is a big one. And it's shame. Because at some point, like months later, Elizabeth woke up and stopped the boys, right? But before that, she realized she had just divorced her husband, her first husband. She had this ideal. And it's important to understand we all have ideals. Ideals of how we should look, how we should dress, what kind of job we should have, what kind of relationship we have, what we should be doing out in the world. And often these ideals are not particularly chosen by us. They are what we were immersed in our family or immersed in the culture. Well, she had an idea that to be in a nuclear family was everything. And so she was feeling a great deal of shame. Now remember, the woman in the prior illustration I used, she was feeling guilt. Guilt is when you've done something that you regret, or you've said something that you regret. But shame is different, right? Shame is when you feel that there is something inherently wrong with you. And we don't want to reveal it. How many of you would really like to stand up? You know, you could come right up here now, testify as to something that you feel is inherently wrong with you. We want to withdraw. We want to pull away. We want to hide it. It's the last thing. And we also take on a lot of behaviors to try and cover it up. I have a friend who tells the story of growing up in a family where her father was very overweight. But from the earliest memory she can remember, he would say to the family, "I'm not fat, this is all muscle." And she believed it. And then one day she was over at one of the neighbors' houses, one of the kids her same age, and maybe the dad or someone said, "Yeah, your dad could stand to lose some weight." And she said, "Oh, that's not fat, that's muscle." And they all broke out laughing. And it kind of woke her up. She went, "Yeah, that is fat." And so she went back and she said to her dad, "Dad, you're lying. That's not muscle, that's fat." And he severely punished her. And it left her questioning, because she was young. She was very young. It left her questioning, do I really know the truth? Or is it safe to speak the truth I know? And how does that then play out today, oh my goodness, 70 years later? She sits on a board of a major nonprofit, and if she shoots out an idea, she goes, that's one of my problems. These ideas come, and she has a lot of insight, and no one responds to it. If there's that dead silence, then immediately her shame starts crashing in on her. I wasn't attuned. I didn't know what the truth was here. I'm off in some way. And it wants to shut her down. It wants to make her safe. So how do we work with shame? We don't talk about shame a lot in this community. Is there anybody that doesn't feel like they have any shame? I'll just represent that here in the sanctuary, no one's raising their hand. It's okay if you raise your hand. I actually have worked with a few people that had such strong defenses that they didn't actually think they had shame. But under those strong defenses is what? Is shame and hurt and sadness, grief. So how do we work with it? Well, one thing is to not just write it off, but to look at what is the origin of this shame? Where did it come from? So you have some understanding, so you have some relationship with it. It's not just shame, right? Oh, here's where it came from. Unfortunately, that's part of the magic pill, but that's not all of it. we then also have to retrain ourselves because we're so used to giving the shame the attention. I'm bad. And pulling back. It's an opportunity to lean into it. Like my friend so beautifully says, yeah, it feels like everything in my being wants to just shut down. But today I've learned I need to keep engaging. I need to keep putting myself out there. You can relate, right, how hard that is. We never said the spiritual path was easy. It's actually very challenging. But coming out of the shadows, right? Because where is the shadow? It's only in her mind, not the truth. Because she is asked over and over again to re-up for this board. What is the truth that's occluded in you because of shame? Where have you, like me and my deficiency, not been able to fully come out? And how is life inviting you into that now? Asking you to be the light. Finally, I want to address just one other thing. I don't know how old Elizabeth was, but at some point she remarried, and with that came a stepson. I got it right this time. And his name was Michael. And Michael was very different than the family. You know, he was, I think he had a mild case of Tourette's. He was totally energetic. He was out there. He liked to make fun and tease about everything, and there was no quiet around him. And Elizabeth found this need to control come up. I don't actually have any need to control, do you? She wanted him to conform to her feeling comfortable. And in that, she says, I didn't want to know anything more about the parts of me, the parts that cared more about being in control than about a little boy in need of love. Now, remember that the ego is made up of many different parts. I just love this statement. When Sue says, is there anything in there you could speak about? I just read that one line and went, oh, yeah. Because, see, I'm always talking about how important it is to be curious, right? Charles Fillmore says, self-observation is the prelude to Christ consciousness. Self-observation, the prelude to coming into living your full potential, your Christ potential. But some days, it's just not going to happen. It's just too much. Maybe you need a break. And remember, there's a lot of momentum in your ego structure that says never come back to it. My only request would be, see if you can't come back to it tomorrow. Because my experience is, the universe starts out with a stick about your shoulders when you're kind of missing something. Pretty soon it's a 2x4. The ego doesn't get that. It goes into victim. Oh, life is against me. Oh. No, life loves you. And while you don't really want to go back and visit what's in the way, life will not let you forget it. It's hard to believe, but this thing we call God loves you so much. Will not give up on you. But it's not going to drop a sack of gold on you. Well, it does in a way, after you step out of the shadows. I'm just going to read you, I forgot to read this in the last service. I just want to read you another piece that stood out for me in this chapter. This, by the way, is in the section on Michael, the stepson. It's easy to remain blind about ourselves when we stay within the safety zone, among people who are just like us, in a place that looks like home. We can trick ourselves into thinking that we're far more open-minded and big-hearted than we really are. It's when we must walk our talk in the complex landscape of a messy life. Now, I just want to read that again, because that's what life is, really. It's when we must walk our talk in the complex landscape of a messy life that self-righteous ideas are whittled down into the honest truth. I've discovered there's much more room in the heart of an I don't know it all. Sue was absolutely right last week. A life lived from love and truth is an amazing life. You will be out of the shadows. Unfortunately, there's work to be done. But the great thing is that the universe doesn't make you figure it out. It's putting it right there in front of you. That fight you had with your partner, the death of your partner, the loss of a job or a really horrible boss, all of it is there for you to find out, and what is my truth here? Why am I not able to just simply be in this, or is this my time to move if I'm stuck in this? It's never black and white, is it? But it's no accident. What's happening in your life is happening for you. And so the invitation, the name we called this talk, who's in charge anyway? Step up as the adult. One thing I forgot to tell you is that when Elizabeth set a boundary with her boys and said there will be no more slam ball, they were actually relieved. And your ego will be relieved too when you take charge. When you stop giving in, stop letting it run your life, stop letting it put you through destructive behaviors, it will relax. But it takes will and focus. And I know you can do it. Let's move into some time of meditation now. I'm going to invite you to take another nice deep breath, because there's been a lot of information flowing around. You may be feeling overstimulated. You may be feeling bored to death. Just take a breath and come back to yourself. Come back to the sense of presence. When I say presence, it's a vibratory rate that I feel in my body when I'm present. It's, oh yeah, I'm present now. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. We're just going to be with our eyes closed for a short while. This is our opportunity to connect with something other than the chatter in our mind. And so we gently put our attention at the movement of our breath, or at what I prefer, the cost center, roughly 2 fingers in and 3 fingers down from your belly button, depending on how COVID hit you. And allow yourself to begin to just quiet and relax into who and what you are. Your love, your light. You are all the strength you'll need, all the courage you'll need, all the love and compassion that you could even imagine. You're it. You are the expression of the universe in that body of yours. Bringing it all. Bringing all that's human, bringing all that's spirit into one beautiful package. Fully experiencing it all. But you are never alone. For you are spirit. And so we allow ourselves now to just rest in that knowing that we are never alone, always being invited to step from the shadows.
Walk blindly to the light and reach out for his hand. Don't ask any questions and don't try to understand. Open up your mind and then open up your heart. You would see that you and me aren't very far apart, and I believe that love is the answer. I believe that love will find a way. Violence is spread worldwide, and there's families on the streets. We sell drugs to children now. Oh, why can't we just see that all we do is eliminate our future with the things we do today? Money is our incentive now, so that makes it okay. But I believe that love is the answer. I believe that love will find a way. I believe that love is the answer. I believe that love will find a way. Walk blindly to the light and reach out for his hand. Don't ask any questions and don't try to understand. Open up your mind and then open up your heart, and you would see that you and me aren't very far apart. 'Cause I believe
Stacy Roginski.
Stacy. Yes, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy. That was fantastico. This is our time in our service where we'd like to be so gratefully receiving your love offerings, and we're still in transition from being online with everyone who's online and here in person. So we just say thank you, thank you, thank you to everybody who has continued to support Columbine Spiritual Center. We are completely supported by your contributions. We are self-supported. And so each and every donation really helps us keep going. So let's say our offertory blessing together. God's love has always met and will always meet all my needs. I give freely, I receive abundantly, and I am grateful. Thank you so, so much. So some announcements. The first one is I'm going to give kudos to Janice Kelly for the amazing Peace Through Music concert last night, which was incredible. And just as she had visioned, incredible music, wonderful performances, the whole lawn was filled with chairs and blankets and people eating their picnics, and we just had the best time. It was so wonderful. So thank you so much for all that work, and thanks to everyone who came. And we raised really great money for Sister Carmen and musical ambassadors of peace. And we have some bins with lightly used clothes and food items, and they're going to be here Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, they'll be picked up on Wednesday.
So if you have stuff at home or here and you want to bring some stuff, come on down and let's fill those bins up to the top. That would be great. So thank you so much,
It was an
Janice.
honor, and thank you to everybody that helped. It really did take a village this year. So much, much appreciation for
Yeah.
everyone.
We got to do more stuff like that. It was so good. I mean, talk about having everybody in person, to have that welcome back, to come back and have all of those faces and all those smiles. And so we're saying come back to the sanctuary too. Come back to service. We're having a 9 a.m. outdoor service. We are asking people to register for the 9 a.m. outdoor service so that we know who's coming. Because if we have the 4 people that had been registering, we're likely to cancel. But today we had 15 people, and then we ended up with 20, and it was great. So we really want people to know and to register for that 9 a.m., but you don't have to register for the 11, because just come on down. We're here.
We'll be here no matter what.
We'll be here no matter what, so you may as well. And then we also started fellowship today, which was the first time that we've had coffee outside. And so when we have these things, guess what we need? Volunteers. So here we are, the staff. We're just running around like crazy, but we're happy to do it. We're so happy to do it and have you here with us. But we're looking for volunteers, and we're looking for volunteers to help in a couple different areas. One is to help with the gardens. Linda Wilkinson has done this amazing job with the gardens for all these years. She's here in the sanctuary today. And in COVID, with just 1 or 2 people, she really held it down. And she's got other work. So we are back in needing our weeders and deadheaders and waterers each week. So we need help with that. We need greeters, welcoming people back to the sanctuary. Thank you to my greeters who came today. We need people to help with fellowship, since fellowship is back. And if we get enough help with fellowship, we might even bring back food. Ooh, that'll be really fun. I'm ready for a cookie. And then we're doing Janice Kelly's community outreach. Feet
Forward.
Feet Forward is coming up, and so you can register. So that is going to be on the 15th, Tuesday the 15th, and we're going to cook meals and prepare them for homeless. So all that stuff's on the website, and you can register for all those things there. So that's where you do that. Next is, our next big class is Prosperity Plus. Who in here has taken Prosperity Plus? So it is this phenomenal way of stretching yourself, putting yourself out there, and learning to vision and learning the tools of abundance and prosperity and the law of attraction, and really allowing yourself to have a dream. So I told the story in the email that 3 years ago when I sat in this sanctuary, I was recently newly sober, and I was in a job that was really toxic and not great, and I was in
had a hard time, was not having a great time with my husband, really struggling with my kids, a lot of credit card debt. And I put on this piece of paper my vision of what I wanted for my life that was impossible to believe could come true. It really was. And that's what Prosperity Plus is about, like really coming clean with what is your purpose. And I have a job here that I love. It's almost for word what I wrote down on my vision. I am back in love with my husband. My kids are great, and I have 0 credit card debt. So really owe it to Prosperity Plus. So we're really looking for like at least 25 people to sign up for the class for it to be really viable, because we really feed off of each other. We really need each other to really make it happen. So I really encourage you to, if it reaches to you at all, to reach out to Sue or I. We'll answer any questions that you have, and we'd love to do it. We're trying to do it hybrid, and if the hybrid doesn't work, we'll do Zoom. So real pitch for that. We really need people to register this week. So please, please, please register. Okay, what else have I got, Lisa? Oh, financial update. Yep, speaking of prosperity. Come on up, Mr. Prosperity.
I'm the new
that
Mr.
vision.
Prosperity.
Let's hear that vision.
Oops, I might be too close. So we're trying to just keep you appraised, right, of what's happening. So the annual meeting, we talked about being about 20,000 behind in love offerings. We're right at the end of last month at 25,000 behind. We're doing okay, but we also want you to know that if it keeps in this direction, we're going to have to make some changes, right? We work on a 0 budget, and yeah. And the other piece that is hopeful and kind of been wonderful, really, is now that the country has opened up, we're starting to see inquiries and actual bookings for rental of the facility for weddings and different events. And that was a big part of our budget before COVID that totally disappeared. So, but at the same time, come into a little extra money, you might think of Columbine. We're not going to turn it away.
Thanks, God. So I think that's it. We're just so loving seeing everyone's faces, and we just love this community, and we're so grateful all the people are in line with us, whether you're watching right this second or watching later. You are here with us, and we love each and every one of you.
And let's stand up and joyously sing our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And all those that are here in the sanctuary, there is fellowship, there is the bookstore, the Janes will do mastermind, and Lydia is here as a prayer chaplain. So enjoy all those things while you're here.